And we go out, they do their, their 180, pulling security, throw my nods down. I'm just sitting next to him, and he goes, all right, it's going to be the LT, RTO, me, and you'll be the back of our little wedge. And I said, cool. And I followed them for 3 days, a search and destroy mission. And the last day, we found everything. We found a weapons cache. We took Taliban prisoners. And then they're like, all right. So we could see the cop in the distance.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, let's call the birds in. We'll air assault back. And then the platoon leader was a ranger. And he goes, we're rangers. Let's walk it back. And I'm like, why? Why?
If you could be anything other than what you do now as a combat cameraman, what would it be?
We talking military?
I don't care.
If I could do it all over again, I would have gone combat arms first.
Yeah.
I would have went infantry and then got that combat arms under my belt and then switched over.
Yeah.
So that'd definitely be my one and only regret.
So we know where he's at then. His mind's military. Because I gave you like the full gambit. You could have been anything. I want to be a running back for the Titans or something. You know what I mean? Nope. He wants to be an infantryman.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Because I've always wanted to be a soldier since I was 5.
Yeah.
So I've held on.
Well, so I read that in your bio. So I just wanted to see where your mind was at.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This was a test.
Yeah, it was a test. He passed.
Yes. Yeah. We're done? Okay.
Well, welcome to the show, Austin. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. You're a local guy, so we'll get into that in a little bit. So you just mentioned that you always wanted to go in the military since you were 5 years old. So did you grow up in a military family?
No, my dad and all the boomers, none of them were veterans. Both my grandfathers were. Grandpa Berner, he flew C-46s and C-47s in the Army Air Corps, and he'd let you know that. And then my other grandpa, he was a finance guy, but he always said he was in the Jewish infantry. And I was like, Gramps, you're Catholic. And he's like, think about it. And I was like, that's brilliant. And every time I meet a pay guy, I'm like, Jewish infantry. And they're like, we love that. I'm stealing that.
No way.
So yeah.
I've never heard that term.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah. So Jewish infantryman and finance guys, I was like, love it. So he was in 45 and then he got called back in Korea. But other than that, my wife and I on the Berner side are the only guys serving. So
First of all, that last name is pretty baller.
yeah, I got Bunsen Berner and then Austin Powers and, got all that growing up. So yeah, and that wasn't bad. That's not a bad nickname. Yeah. But yeah, Bunsen Burner, everyone was like, I haven't heard that one before.
Afterburner,
Yeah.
all the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spelled a little bit differently, but the
I mean, nobody had to know that. Thanks.
phonetics is out there.
Now, it used to be B-U umlaut R-E-R. It was Uber German.
Yeah.
And my grandfather got bullied in school for World War I, and they changed it to sound less German.
Grew up in Tyrone, so
I did.
It was so what was it like at that time frame? Because
That's basically Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean,
it was awesome. 90s kid. I mean, my dad worked for Delta Airlines, tech ops, 40 years, and then mom worked for Chick-fil-A. So flying for free and eating free chicken, I'm still in therapy.
That's all
It's
Georgia.
really, really rough upbringing. So
Everything he mentioned right there is all Atlanta.
yes,
totally.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
yeah. We see Coca-Cola and Home Depot, and we're all set.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it was great. And then all my friends were Delta brats. So we would just non-rev. Like I remember we were sitting at the table one time and my friend's dad's Delta pilot. He's like, Dad, where are you going? London. He's like, can we come? Sure. We literally packed our bags and went to London, so that was cool. And riding around on golf carts in Peachtree City before he could drive, so we had freedom, as a young teen. And
People don't understand what you just said right there. So Peachtree City golf carts, explain that.
so when the community was set up, I know by law, if they expanded it, they'd have to expand the golf cart trail. So you can get anywhere in Peachtree City on a golf cart. And they even have golf cart parking because I know you'll pull in and be like, dang it, there's a golf cart
Golf
there.
cart overpasses going over the highway.
And yes. So yeah, it's great. I mean,
It's crazy.
so yeah, I mean, we just golf carted around everywhere. It was great. So yeah.
And then we also have to specify, you keep saying Delta, and I don't want to lessen what you're saying. So he's referring to Delta Airlines.
Yes.
Okay. He's like,
Not Delta
a
Force.
Delta pilot,
Yeah, because I'll refer to, I work for Delta. And they're like, you're Delta in the Army? Like, no. Far from that, but you can keep thinking that.
So
Your
so your dad worked for Delta Airlines.
Delta Airlines.
And that's why I was like, oh, it's all Atlanta, because that's for the audience that's not familiar with the South. If you look
That's
at
true.
Atlanta, there's staples of Atlanta. One is, Coca-Cola, Delta, because busiest airport in the world, Hartfield Jackson.
Jackson, yeah.
So what's that? Hartsfield. Yeah.
And when they finish the expansion, it will be the largest airport on Earth. So it'll be the largest and the busiest on Earth, which is amazing.
And they've been doing that for years. They've been going back and forth with it. So yeah, good old Delta Airlines.
Yep.
So in my neighborhood's exact same thing with Delta, Chick-fil-A. I don't think anybody is Coke, but the same thing currently right now. I think it's, one of those things they want to get like 20, 30 minutes away from the office. Yes. They don't want to get any further than that. So the only sad thing is I've been watching all these videos about the 50 ingredients in the Chick-fil-A sandwiches. It's kind of a bummer,
Yeah. Hopefully they'll change all that because it's just like, oh, here's another thing that's going to kill us.
So what made you want to go in the military then?
So, like
you said, going back to 5 years of age, but still, what made you?
So yeah, my grandpa was my hero, and being in World War II, and I got to go to 2 of his reunions before they all passed, and just he really instilled, you serve, you give back, service to our country, and I actually watched the movie. Speaking of movies. The Longest Day with John Wayne, and he had a whole cabinet of VHS tapes, and half of them were those old World War II from the 60s. And I watched that over and over and over again. And when the paratroopers jumped, into Normandy and they showed all, I was like, that's what I want to do. And I held on to that dream like my entire life. So I didn't know anything about ComCam, but like Airborne, I was like, that's what I want to be.
So when you went down to the recruiter, that's what I want to get to next. You graduated high school.
I went to Sandy Creek, graduated in 2003.
Yeah, and so then all of a sudden you go down to the recruiter. You do it as a senior in high school through a delayed entry program type of thing?
So I did. I went to the recruiter in Peachtree City.
Okay.
And it was Sergeant First Class Gaylord. And I was like, you must have caught hell. He goes, yes, I did. But I actually got a Ranger contract. And my mom was like, you need to go to college. You need to go to college. Mom, being young and dumb. Mom, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm going to do. And she kept pushing and kept pushing. And I actually owe her a lot because during my senior year, you got to, visit the, college. You get your college off day. It's like, why take advantage of that? And she brought me to North Georgia.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, one, didn't even know this place existed. This is amazing. You can do ROTC, be a senior military cadet, and then commission and go in. I was like, never even thought of that. Dang it, she was right. So I bombed the SAT, bombed it, got 900. And we went up there. Bad. It was really bad. Yeah. I mean, do you think of window liquor? Probably was me. Oh, so bad. But she's like, no, let's just go talk to him. And this woman, I mean, her presence, she's like, okay, Austin, your scores are not good enough to get in here, but if you take a math class and an English class, it won't count towards your credit. That will be your entry, and you'll get in. You need to take an entry test. And I was like, another test. Took it, bombed it. And I was embarrassed, teenager. Mom, God, you can't believe you did this. And she sat me down. She said, Austin, you're going to go lunch with your mom, and you're going to come back, and we're going to take the test together. I was like, okay. And she read the questions, and I was like, oh, it's A. Oh, it's D. And I passed. So I did that, got into North Georgia, and I'm so thankful to my mother because I did all 4 years at ROTC up there. And I mean, literally to this day, the training I got there was better than anything I've had. And when I deployed to Afghanistan, I literally leaned back on that training and still have friends to this day. I mean, they're all lieutenant colonels now, but, still friends to this day. Amazing experience in North Georgia. And I think that really set me up to then go enlist and become combat camera. So
yeah, it's so interesting that you mentioned that special location because a lot of people are not familiar. Up in North Georgia, around Dahlonega, right?
Correct, like downtown Dahlonega. Yep,
is University of North Georgia, which is a military institute.
It is a senior military college. So A&M, VMI, we all compete with them. So
yeah, and I don't know that it's widely known, but there are a lot of big names that either came out of there. The current commander of even 75th Ranger Regiment is a graduate of there.
He was just ahead of me, Colonel Lobaho. He was just ahead of me, and he was a legend then. Because we did the aggressor platoon, was like a pre-ranger, like ROTC, and then you had the Blue Ridge Rifles and Columbo, which was like the mountaineering. But literally going through aggressors, I mean, that's where I think I should have gone combat arms, like I was saying.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we pretty much did 3 days of Ranger school, and I really suffered with those guys, and they pushed us to no limit. And I'm so glad they did because, I carried that through my whole military career, and I'm so thankful for that.
So you never end up getting a commission?
No, I was an idiot. So a lot of this conversation about, man, he's an idiot.
Well, we keep going back to the licking window.
Yes.
That window is very clean, by the way.
Yeah. So I gave my commission up for a girl.
Oh.
Yes, exactly.
We can end this.
Did you end up marrying her?
I did not. So, your junior year, you go in front of LDAC and you do your, and then you get. So I passed that up because she didn't want to be a military wife, and so I literally, idiot, gave my career, my dream away for this girl, and then my senior year she dumps me. So now, no commission, no career, no girl. Way to go, Austin. You're, had your head in your fourth point of contact. Way to go. But it was a blessing in disguise.
Real quick, fourth point of contact is his ass. For
trying to be polite.
Yeah. I translate a lot.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thank you for giving us the military one.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, but it was actually a blessing in disguise because on campus I passed a lieutenant who was doing his gold bar recruiting. And I was like, hey, sir, where'd you commission? He's like, Signal. And I was like, oh, that probably wasn't high on your list. He goes, no. But I'm in a combat camera unit. And I was like, a what? He's like, yeah, I'm a platoon leader for a combat camera. They do photography and video. I was like, you can commission to that? He's like, no, you can't commission into it. But I was lucky, and it's under the signal branch. Yeah. And I was like, that's what I want to do. So thank goodness, that terrible decision led to me to go to combat camera. Because no one knows it's an MOS.
Why did MOS?
I ran around the backyard with my parents' camcorder, and we would make little films and stuff. There's no editing back then. So it's like, everyone shut up, record. And then, you'd have to you'd make your cut scenes, but just stop recording. So we just ran around with all the neighborhood kids. So, never knew that was a career. But actually North Georgia, when I graduated, both my uncles are in the film industry. So one's a professional photographer here in Atlanta. He's done all this corporate stuff. And then my other uncle is he was a gaffer. And then he switched to the camera department, and I thought he'd be like my end, but again, he doesn't have to, give me a career, but he threw me some, some freelance stuff, but he said, you should go to film school in Rockport, Maine. What the heck is there? I taught there. It's a really good school. So then I went to Rockport, Maine, and it was, no tests, which was great for me. You literally was like, okay, you're the director, you're the camera operator, you're the gaffer, and then you'd go, and they'd give you 10 minutes of film. And then however, Robert, whatever you wanted to shoot, boom, you got to shoot it. You were the director. You told everyone, we got your stuff, and then switch.
And you got a degree from that.
Yeah, and it was great. And it was real world living. So you set up a C-stand, and you ratchet it down the wrong way, and that light comes crashing down. They're like, all right, I want to let you know, you would never get called back on set. So this is why we're here. You need to ratchet down like this. So because again, you would not get a call back. You'd be blacklisted for that. It's like, oh, so it's real world learning. And we got to, play and dabble with a lot of cool stuff. I did the fast track. I was only there a year, but I'm so glad I got to do that because I learned a lot more advanced stuff than what the Army teaches. So, and then after that, now more my North Georgia friends are Rangers and Army aviators and sappers and all cool stuff. So I was like, all right, I got to join. So went to the recruiter, and the recruiter didn't even know it was an MOS. I was like, I'm interested in video. I don't know if you have she was like, oh, 25 Victor, combat camera documentation specialist. Oh, you have to do both photography and video. You cool with that? Know nothing about photography. Sure. Oh, and you got to go to Airborne. This is an Airborne unit. I was like, sign me up. So there we go. All my dreams into one, and boom. So, but I got screwed over. Being young and dumb, I went through all of MEPS, and she goes, okay, so we got a problem. We have the slot, but no training. How does that make any sense? How do you have the slot with no training? I was like, I'll wait. I'll just, I'll freelance. And she's like, no, you need to pick a job or you got to go through MEPS all over again. Recruiters never lie.
That was totally wrong.
Yeah, this is the first time.
We go to MEPS again just to meet the guidance counselor, but not the whole.
So yeah, exactly. She said, you got to go through everything. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So I looked at the list of jobs. And I actually scored a decent ASVAB score. I got at least a 110 GT. So, but this was 2008. So I got there was no trigger puller stuff, and especially going in the reserve is, there's no combat arms in the reserve. So it was like truck driver, I was like, oh man, I don't want to do any of this. But then they had unit armor on there. And I was like, oh, we get to play with weapons. Okay. So I did that. And another blessing in disguise, they said, okay, you're going to go to Fort Jackson, but it's full. So they sent me to Fort Benning, and I'm so glad I got. So I got to go with all the infantry guys, and my drill sergeant was like, "What's your MOS burner?" And I'm like, "This technically, this is 92 Yankee. You're a supply retard. Why are you in here in my platoon?" And I'm just like, "Oh, they just told me to come here, drill sergeant." So, but that was only 7 weeks of AIT, so I just crushed that, and then they sent me to Fort Gillem at 3rd Medical Command, and they're like, "We don't need a weapons armorer here."
It's like you were going way over here to get over there and all these different jobs, locations, everything.
So they're like, we have muskets here. We have M16A2s. You're not going to, so you'll just be a supply clerk. And I was like, and it's like, your heart and soul just dropped. I'm like, this is going to be my Army career. So I called 982nd And that's, the combat camera unit I'm in now. And then Staff Sergeant Bracken picked up the phone. He goes, "We need guys. We'll take you. They'll release you." Went to the first sergeant and he goes, "You want to do what, Berner? Take pictures?" It's like, "It's my dream first sergeant." He goes, "All right, you just got here. I could keep you for a year, but I'll let you go." And he signed off on it. It's like, thank God. Then I got the next row, went to the commander. "You want to do what, Berner?" "Yes, sir." And he goes, "All right, if this is your dream, go for it." And then it was 9 months of AIT, but I was an MOST, so I was already trained. So I just, I didn't have to do any of the, you got to phase up and you're locked down. Like I literally I had my weekends off. So I was like, wow, thank you, God. All this crap I had to go through, all these, they all merged. And so then I went to combat camera school. We call it DINFOS at Fort Meade, 2009 to 2010. And I graduated and I've been doing it ever since. And I've literally spent 17 years today's my anniversary.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah. So you picked a good day.
Yeah, all right.
17 years of doing combat camera and I have never left this unit. So it's extremely rare.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's rare. Yeah.
So that's kind of my journey to joining the Army.
First of all, typically you're not going to get a command team at a company level sign off on paper.
No, I was so thankful.
Because they know it's going to get up to that battalion and brigade level and they're going to get laughed out of the, the conference room. But what are you watching in their arms room? Syringes?
I mean, you're going to be a clerk. Like, you're not even a touch weapon. We qualify twice a year. I mean, it's just like, oh, man, I really screwed up, and thank God.
Yeah.
Because, I could have just sat there and raw. And then, a lot of soldiers, they're soul leads, and they're like, I hate the Army. I hate this. I'm out. And then they just leave, and then they throw an amazing career that could have been, but they had that bad experience, and then that's...
Any other unit would have been, like, almost literally any other unit, they would have said no.
Exactly. So I'm so thankful that I went sent to Fort Gillem, 3rd Medical Command, and they let me go, and then joined 982nd. It's been great. So
I want to talk a little bit about, you mentioned about the MOS that you have in combat cameraman. And again, people are going to be going, what, combat cameraman?
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, even the recruiter did the same thing and stuff. But what you guys do, I don't think a lot of people recognize until you're out there and you go, hey, listen, I know there was a dude that took some photos.
Yes.
And then you happen to be the guy, hey, what's going on, Austin, man? You got that photo you took? Because not everybody way back in the day carried around one of these things everywhere they went. But combat cameramen were normally right near them.
Yes. So yeah, most people think of Full Metal Jacket. Oh, you're Joker, you're Private Joker. It's like, no, he's a journalist. That's 46 series, 46 Sierra, and they're more writer. They do shoot, but their more job is focused on the writing aspect. So yeah, combat camera, we are with the trigger pullers. We are, fully armed. We're infantrymen with cameras, and we document combat operations. And that was one thing I really wanted to do, because I'm not going to run around with a weapon. I don't want to do this job. But then a lot of other people think we were soldiers. Gary Pepper, the civilian photographer. And I was like, yeah, he was a civilian, but that really showed. He was in the thick of it. That's what ComCam does.
Yeah. And they treat him as such still.
Yeah. And, so yeah, and it's funny because we compete with PAO. I think we're better shooters. Not to say there are some great PAO and there's some great shooters and there's some bad ComCam. You have in any MOS, but we really pride ourselves because we actually get more training. We do both photos and video, and now they changed us over to 46 Victor. So we are merging with public affairs, and then they said, you know what? You can do 2 things. Let's make it 3. Now we got to do graphics. So I was the last 25 Victor SLC class for E7. So they were like pride in that, and we got grandfathered in. You guys don't have to do graphics. I was like, oh, thank God. So, because I'm really good at photography and video, but I was like, man, I'm getting old.
So they're going to do public affairs. They're going to be assigned to public affairs.
So
is that what it is?
They said they're going to keep the ComCam designation. So, you have the 55th Combat Camera there in Fort Meade, the active duty, and 982nd is reserve, and that is it. There's 2 units in the Army, and that is it for ComCam.
See, I didn't even know that, because I guess I always assume, like, when 173rd goes out, they've got PAO that are ComCams that are assigned to them.
So it's funny, we call it the ComCam circle. So you go to Fort Meade, 55th, and like a lot of guys go there after AIT. You can go to Fort Bragg, and you can be in a PSYOP unit. So you can be a 25 Victor or now 46 Victor, kind of a 1 or 2 man operation run around doing that. And then you can go to Germany, and you can be in a training installation, which a lot of guys like to do. Then you go to NTC and die in California, and you do that. And then you literally just go around the circle, or you become an instructor, a drill sergeant. But that's really the ComCam circle. And then talking to my active duty component guys, they're like, dude, you're an E7, you're still shooting? He goes, yeah, I love my job. He goes, we stopped shooting at E6. Like, we're just managers now. So as a reservist, I'm so thankful as a platoon sergeant, as an E7, I can still shoot, and obviously manage my guys and be a leader, but I'm still shooting as an E7, and that's unheard of now in active duty.
Yeah.
So, and I really don't want to make E8 because it's like, now I'm a staff NCO. I can't jump. You got to be a staff guy. So as an E7, I'm still jumping, still shooting, and I love it.
And so if we can jump in, what do you do outside of ComCam?
So I work for Delta Airlines.
Yeah.
I'm second generation after my dad. He actually pinned my wing. So the freelance gig, I did it for 5 years. I just hated it. I hated it because it was ups and downs with work. You're paying benefits out of pocket.
Yeah.
You would do, you'd bust your ass on set and they'd be like, Austin, great job. I'm like, I ain't hiring this guy ever again. And then, it's like, I thought I did a good job. I thought these guys liked me. So I hated the politics of that. So my dad was like, Austin, you should travel. You love traveling. You should get paid to do it. And I was like, all about being a flight attendant though. He goes, hey, they're great with the military. Delta Airlines is a very pro-military company. And he was right. And so I've been a flight attendant for 10 years and I get to travel the world. I'm senior enough to fly international and fly West Coast, and I give my family flight benefits. And so it's great. I have the reserves and TRICARE. And as you guys know, TRICARE is the best. So everyone's like, oh, how's
the
your
absolute best?
Yes. And even as, TRICARE Reserve selects, like I just had my second child, I had a little girl. It's like, nope, owed nothing.
Yeah.
So it's great. I love the balance of both. I'm still trying to do as much as I can in the military before I retire. But yeah, Delta's right. Anything I need off. They do a Delta Veterans Day every year. They clear out a hangar. They fly in all these active duty military aircraft. So yeah, it's a great company to work for.
The guy I bought my house from a couple of years ago works for Delta.
Okay.
Chris. No, can't remember.
That's right. I actually,
you know Chris.
Very memorable, Chris.
so let's go back to when you got airborne, because you were going to go option 40. That didn't happen.
Yes.
You were getting assigned to be a clerk and the whole bed and armor and when did airborne and air assault come in?
So airborne was like actually right after I graduated AIT. I graduated like April, May of 2010. And I was, remember the movie Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah.
When he was writing those letters nonstop, I was going to Staff Sergeant Bracken nonstop in the office, like, where's my orders? Where's my orders? Where's my orders? Where's my orders? And he's like, shut up, Berner. You're an E4. You'll go when you're told. Where's my orders? There's your orders. Go. So I went November of 2010.
So
Graduated.
when he was in airborne school, I was on Benning. I was on Kelly Hill. No,
You probably yelled at
I
me.
was on Harmony Church.
Wow, small world.
Yeah.
So,
Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, I got to jump T10. So yeah, got to jump T10 back in the day and did all 130 jumps.
You guys were still using the tower back then too, right?
Yeah, it had to be a perfect day. So our class didn't go through it. And I was in those horrible ACUs. God, I hate that uniform.
yeah.
Oh, I hated that uniform. And then being German, my beard grows like I've been yelled at my entire military career. And I remember I had a sergeant major when I was an AIT at Fort Lee for unit armor. Did you shave today, specialist? And I was like, yes, sergeant major. You're lying to me. Where's your barracks? And it was like, Alpha Company, blah, blah, blah. And he showed up at like 04. And you hear, at ease. Good morning, sergeant major. Good morning, sergeant major. Where's Berner? Oh, he's over there. Open the door, Berner, and watch you shave. I'm like, this is so weird. He literally watched me shave. And then I was like, is that the standard, sergeant major? He's like, yep. And he left. And I passed him at lunch and he goes, holy shit, Berner, your parents must have been Greek gods. I've never seen hair grow that fast. And they never fucked him ever again. And then in airborne school, Sergeant Airborne, come here, Berner. Did you shave? Yes, Sergeant Airborne. He goes, line. And then I just, he made me run and do laps or do more pull-ups.
You guys start taking pictures in the morning.
I know.
Man, back in the day, they sergeant majors and guys you're talking about would carry around a
razor.
Yes.
Say, you're going to shave right now.
Now everyone has a shaving profile. I'm like, yeah, just my luck.
Everybody does have a shaving profile.
Yes.
No comment.
So, but yeah, I'm glad I got to go in 2010. So yeah, I started my airborne career like right off the bat. And then my cherry blast was at Toy Drop at Fort Bragg. And being ComCam, we didn't have to do the lotto. So, usually the paratroopers have to show up, mostly 82nd guys. And we got hard slotted, which was unheard of. And then as an E4, as a cherry blast, I got tie. So jumped C-17. It was tie special forces. They were all like 4'11". You couldn't even see the jump masters. You're like, what'd they say? Check equipment. Oh. And then they're doing it all in tie, so you can't understand a thing. And then we jumped at 700 feet. We had no reserve. So I'm a cherry. Like, do I just put my hands here? They're like, yeah. And then it was like colonel, sergeant major, and me in the stick. And the major turns around and goes, how did you get in this stick? I was like, I don't know. This told me where to show up, sir. And so, yeah, I did my cherry blast at 700 feet.
Did you get tie wings?
I got 4 in tie wings. And they punched him in. And then before the ceremony, they were doing like roundhouse, like spinning kicks, just kicking each other, waiting, because they're all, Thai special forces. So all my active duty guys like, you got tie wings on your cherry blast? I was like, yeah.
So explain to our public what the cherry blast.
So cherry blast is your first jump out of airborne school. And so that's, you pop your cherry. And I did the traditional, they rigged me up with streamers hanging off my arms. They put the cherry pies in my cargo pocket. So when you land, splat, you got your cherry blast. So that's like the tradition. And then I had the shark fin of red duct tape. I mean, I was a cherry.
They hooked you up.
They knew. So, but it's cool. But that tradition's fallen away. So I tell my soldiers, if you have to do it and able to implement it, you can't, I'm not doing this. And then you're going to haze the junior guys. You do it and then you can do it. So we're trying to keep that tradition alive. But, no blood wings at airborne school. We actually had a World War II veteran pin his grandson at my graduation, and he punched him in. And all the, Sergeant Airborne's like, oh, you can't do that anymore. But I'm not going to tell an 82nd World War II veteran what to do. So, but
nice. As it should be done.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. This whole conversation, I'm still thinking about these Thai soldiers like roundhouse kicking each other in the face.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They were they're all badged out, tabbed out. They were awesome. So, but no, that was such an honor that I got that on my cherry blast.
Totally.
My 6th jump out of airborne school as a reservist.
Yeah. So you're still on jump status.
Still on jump status. I've only come off a couple times. I didn't jump in Afghanistan. I destroyed my right knee jumping, so I got a deployment out of it. I got 9-month orders at the WTU in Benning. But other than that, I've jumped my whole career. I have 63 jumps, 12 foreign jump wings. And
what's the 12?
I got more German than anything. I have like 12 German jumps. Yeah. So I got my bronze, silver, and my gold. And I got my gold at the 75th anniversary of Market Garden, which was amazing.
Wow.
Thai, Italian, South African, Mexican, which is so hard to get because, they only fight in their country. Italian, Belgian, and Chilean. And then I just got Tunisian, my last jump in October. So
where are you doing most of it? Down in Benning?
So a lot of it is up at Leap Fest. I don't know if you heard it. It's Rhode Island National Guard, 52 Troop Command.
We just heard about this from Red. It was on the podcast talking about that.
Amazing. I could literally talk about them the rest of the podcast. Amazing unit. They know how to use ComCam. Like they let us fly drones in the drop zone. Do not fly and hit a helicopter. Don't hit a paratrooper. You can fly drones, whatever shots to get your. I mean, these guys are awesome. They let us jump. Whatever you guys get your shots. I mean, they're amazing.
I want to see that risk assessment.
Yeah, I mean, you were flying drones while static line jumpers were hanging.
Yes. And we got amazing shots. And then, as you know, it's a parachute competition. So they jump 4 guys per chalk in a Chinook. And they have like 12 to 18 countries come a year. So, all these guys are jumping MC6 and then they're running to the X, and your time starts when you hit the drop zone. So if you hit the X, no points. So, it's all these guys running. I mean, they're not even popping their canopy. They're just, running. So with the drone, it was cool. We could actually get them running towards the X. And then we had, ComCam on the ground shooting as well. But they request us every single year. So most of the jump wings, they do a foreign jump at the end. So I think I have like 6 from there. And then I got 1 from Market Garden. And then I just did D-Day, the 80th.
Wow.
And I got,
oh, no way. You were there.
I was there. I got to document. They only took 2 of us. So we went and used the KPOC, and they said, we can take 2 of you. So I took me and another staff sergeant, and I mean, it was such an honor to be there. You got to jump Iron Mike DZ, but they didn't let us jump GoPro. It's like, this is our job. We're a combat camera. And they're like, nope, you got to be a qualified jump master, first guy in the door. And I'm like, that makes no sense.
Why?
And then they're like, well, we can jump your GoPro. I'm like, are you combat camera certified? And they're like, stop being a dick. I'm like, no, I'm just serious. I had to learn that I'm not a jump master. So, you tell me what to do on Airborne, but I'm a camera operator. And so, none of their footage was usable. They didn't check canopy, gain camera control. They didn't do it. So it's like, none of that stuff was usable. So again, I just bit the bullet, but to be there.
Got a great story.
Oh, yeah. Do it.
Yeah, I got to jump on Iron Mike DZ with the 82nd, jumped in during the war. And then at Market Garden, they opened the 9 Megan, where the 82nd jumped.
I'll be damned.
And they didn't open it since the war. And it was amazing. And when we landed, we got into pursuits, and they had 10,000 Dutch citizens. And the old people, they were hugging, kissing us. And I was like, hey, thank you so much. But there's 12 World War II veterans. Please honor them. We're here. And then the Dutch paratroopers, they're like, you don't know what happened there, did you? Well, I want them to honor the real guys. He goes, they were children during the war, and you were the age of the veterans when they got liberated.
Oh, wow.
And that choked me up. I was like, wow. He goes, you reminded them of being liberated. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So, yeah, I mean, as a reservist.
Shit, you just gave me like
Yeah.
response, man.
Yeah, so I mean, and it's great because 56 Troop Command brought us over to Market Garden. So, you know, I love our MLS because we get to network and like, hey, we can do this for you, or especially if you do a good job. I mean, it's endless, and as long as they have slots or like, hey, who's paying for it? You literally can just network in our MLS, which is great. Like we, one of my platoon leaders, he was on Benning, leaves the PX and passes an armor officer, and he sees the patch. He goes, "Oh, you guys are combat camera? I'm an officer over at Armor Bullock. You guys want to come shoot the Abrams? Sure. Are you going to pay for it? Yeah. Like, we'll pay travel orders. Boom. That's how I got to film the tanks.
Wow.
Passing the lieutenant, walking out of the PX, they talk business, and they're like, all right, we can take 5 of you guys. So we brought 5 ComCam, and that's the only reason I got to be around Abrams.
The only time I see 982nd is primarily 5th RTB.
True. We do a lot with them. I love the Rangers. You know, actually, our furloughed Colonel Page said, why don't we have any tab guys? I said, sir, my entire career, they won't send anyone to Ranger School. He goes, I'll send them. So we got 2 guys gearing up. But yeah, I've never had the opportunity to go to Ranger School. But yeah, the Rangers, I think they can really see our capabilities. And so it's such a wonderful marriage because we don't have any jump masters in our unit. They let us strap hang, so they let us stay currency. Just got back off mountain phase of Ranger School, and then they opened everything up. I got special permission to fly a drone over Merrill. And then actually, you guys interviewed Sergeant First Class retired Thomas Bryant,
Yes.
who was the air NCO while we were jumping up there, and he got us on every jump.
No.
So I would just coordinate with him. He goes, all right, Berner, I got 3 parachutes I can throw you guys. And so that's how I actually heard about you guys, was through him.
Get out.
And that was an amazing interview. And so
Dude's a great guy.
amazing. And then he was the herd. He was the 173rd and hearing his story. So,
Oh, man.
and then I was like, dude, I heard your story. Amazing. I never heard of Mentors for Military. Great podcast. I'm listening to it now. He goes, dude, it's such an honor.
Yeah.
So, and then you guys interviewed my fraternity brother,
Who's that?
Richard Ingram.
Oh,
And I literally stood next to him at North Georgia.
he called
Like,
me.
I held hands with him as a pledge.
Is that right?
I held his one hand, so the other guy held enough. But yeah, I love Richard. I was like, oh, they interviewed Richard. So yeah, so it's so cool. Like you guys have just like brought full world back. So it's cool.
Yeah, he just called me the other day and actually was talking more about more University of North Georgia graduates that are up there to come on the show.
Yep. And then my wife is a Black Hawk pilot. And then, of course, all her officers are North Georgia grads. And my fraternity brother, who just did his last, he was on the other side of me. He literally just did his last flight. So, and he's actually dropped me before. I remember we're standing there and he's like waving at me in the Black Hawk. And I was like, who's this pilot? And he texts me, he's like, it's me, dumbass. I'm like, oh, what's up? So yeah, North Georgia really has brought so many people together, and
Yeah, I mean, they're
great officers.
he started dropping names and I was just like really shocked and awe, because most of the people you would think would have been like West Point graduates or like
Yes.
VMI or
Yes.
and all of a sudden he starts saying, hey, this guy, you know this guy? I was like, yeah, I know that guy.
Yes.
Next, say another name and I'd be like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, so hopefully we'll get some of those guys on the show that he was name dropping.
Yeah.
Because really super backstories, super cool backstories and stuff like that. And the fact that they're alumni from that area or they contribute. Some of them may not even be alumni. They actually contribute in some ways by teaching or something of that nature, you know. So looking forward to doing some more stuff with them. So I want to get into combat ComCam, I guess, as you guys, it is a lot easier to say that ComCam than
Yeah, on the
combat.
patch, everyone's like, oh, you're combat camera. Like, yeah. So the patch really helps, because especially when, who's this guy running around with the camera? Oh, and then these are just really authorized, very, like our colonel. We got our Airborne tab back. So I really appreciate him. They authorized the ComCam patch to be officially worn at all times. So that's great. So
Yeah, then everybody recognizes it real easily. But going back, I actually went out there and I did some research. Actually, I didn't ask AI to do it. So, but I knew that there's been a lot of really
Rome's giving away his trade.
but I mean, like when you go out there and you see these old photos, especially of like World War II or Vietnam, you know, the Forgotten War, Korea and stuff like that, and you see photos, everybody's like, that is such a cool photo. Well, that was a ComCam person that took that photo. And I think that's lost a lot of times in translation as to what they do. So this is what it came back with. It says the definition of a ComCam are military personnel trained to document military operations using photography and videography often under fire. They serve across all branches of the military. Their mission is to provide visual documentation for operational planning, historical archives, training, intelligence, public affairs, and legal purposes, which means documenting war crimes or rules of engagement. So there's a lot of stuff that never ends up on like Divid's Hub, and stuff like that, because it's not allowed to. And I think that's part of the thing that people don't understand too, is what you're documenting may not ever get to the public.
Yes.
Share that. Why?
So yeah, mostly, if you take any photo or video of kill, capture, wounded, it's automatically classified. So we can take that image or that video, but yeah, it's automatically it's automatically classified. And they'll actually take our card out of the camera. Like you can't even, like, we get back from mission, they're like, give me your card. And then, it's a sensitive card. So we do have the freedom, and if you're in a military uniform, we can take your picture. You can be a 4-star, you can be SF, because they'll curse us out, but I'm like, I technically take your picture, but we do phase out the SF faces and stuff, but yeah, I mean, it's actually amazing what we do, because you go back to the Civil War, where like the first images were being processed, and then actually people seeing like the battlefield and how many killed and wounded there were. 1917 was the first actual like combat camera unit instilled in the Army, and they're going up in the weather balloons and taking aerial stuff, and I think people are really seeing like the gruesomeness of war during those times. And then World War II, first motion picture, doing video,
Iwo Jima, the raising of the flag.
Yeah, most people didn't know the guy that filmed the flag raising. He got killed in action. He never left that island, and they still haven't found his body.
Is that right?
Yeah, they still have not found his remains.
Wow.
So yeah, to take that iconic thing that is, embedded in the Marine Corps, but yeah, most people don't like, okay, yeah, we see that, but you didn't realize what he had to do to get that shot. And then, we actually got to talk to the 221st Signal. They were the comcam guys in Vietnam, and talking with them and like all the stuff they had to go through. And that was the first time civilians were able to shoot on the battlefield, which I think that's why the war got so, negative attention, because they're showing all the horrific stuff, got bad public. And now, with Iraq and Afghanistan, I think that kind of carried over, because we saw the blue helmet guys run around Afghanistan, and it was sad, because I remember they had some civilians get killed, and that's sad. And there was 4. Well, they just put a 0 behind the 4, and it said 40 civilians got killed. And I said, that's a lie. And I said, it doesn't matter. We get clicks. And I was like, wow, you have no soul. So as a green suiter, I'm glad that I can actually go with my fellow brothers and sisters in arms, document, history. Now, like you were saying, Robert, a lot of our stuff is for the commanders, battlefield assessment. How did operation, Anaconda go? Well, here's the visual of it. When I was in Afghanistan, we took pictures of all the weapons caches we found, all the Taliban, all the det cord, where they're hiding. So yeah, I mean, intelligence wise for MI, they look at a lot of our stuff. We can do recons. Like we actually go out with the infantry and actually do recons. I mean, drones have changed all that. They don't need us anymore, but it was cool, like our capabilities, but also for the individual soldier. I mean, if I take a guy's, pulling security with his M4 and I give it to him and he makes it his profile picture, I'm like, I know I touched his life, because he appreciates that. His wife, his children, can be, hey, that's my son, that's my husband, that's my daughter serving. And, I think the cell phone could make us, completely, they could just take the MOS out, but I think how professional we are and how we shoot and how professional combat camera is, I don't think they'll take us away. And I appreciate that, because anyone can go click, 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 click on the battlefield, but to get that shot with the correct lighting and all that, where people are like, dude, that's an awesome shot. I appreciate that. So.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a unnoticed MOS. I mean, I think a lot of people just think of you, like I said, as a journalism or a journalist person or PAO or something of that nature. But like you said, you're in the thick of it. You're right there along with your brothers and sisters as the bullets are flying for a number of different reasons. Yes. It's not just to take this cool shot of this guy shooting this M4 or, whatever. It's really to document a lot of what's going on that will never reach the public. And so for that reason, I mean, I think it becomes like I said, a historical documentation that gets either used later on. We're just now starting to see World War II and footage and stuff that's past the time limit, so that you can start seeing some of the stuff that actually was going on during that time period. And they use it in documentaries.
Yes.
it's really an important factor, I think, that's overlooked.
I was watching Saving Private Ryan one time. You mentioned that, Robert, and did the special features. They have a combat camera documentary on the special features. And I was like, what? And Tom Hanks produced it. And I was like, play, amazing. Show what those guys went through. I think it's better than what the Netflix series did. The four came back.
Yeah.
Those Hollywood directors. I was like, this is amazing. It's on the special features of Saving Private Ryan. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, check it out.
I have not seen that.
Yeah. So I was like, that's me. That's my MOS.
Wow.
So
I can tell you from a combat arms perspective, combat camera we never had anything negative to say about you guys. And that was, I would like to say, generally speaking, that's like Army wide. So, everybody knows here kind of the disposition of combat services support. And,
yes.
In the way that combat arms treats, it's almost like a high school, right? You got the jocks and the nerds and
Pogues.
Yeah, the pogues. So
the crunchies.
Yeah, however you want to swing it, but combat camera was never in that conversation because it always starts from the top, right? You get the commander buy-in, you get the leadership buy-in, and that buy-in comes from the respect that they had for you, your unit, and being able to go out there and do what we do. So it was never like, oh my God, we got to take this person with us.
Yes.
It was like, you ready to go? All right, and I mean, I remember being in Baghdad, and correct me if I'm wrong, Air Force has combat camera?
They do. They technically took it away.
Yeah.
The first cam was in Afghanistan when I was there. I mean, I've got amazing photographers.
Yeah.
But they technically did away with combat camera. It's only PAO now in the Air Force. But
yeah.
I think it's sad. You really need that different, because public affairs, they do a great job what they do, but we're more field combat oriented. And I think the Army, since we're at peacetime now, they said they're going to keep it, and I pray they do, but I hope that I don't write a book one day, the last cam. So.
I mean, you've built your legacy, so that's good.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. You had a great experience because it's
time.
either we are never taking these guys out again because they fell out, and I really pushed PT and like, hey, we're going out with trigger pullers. These guys are physically fit. They're band of brothers. They know each other. They don't know you at all, and you usually go alone. And especially you're going with Rangers, SF. If you fall out, you're done. Yeah, and they'll be like, we are never taking. So you've just closed that door to every cam because you failed that unit. But also it's like, hey man, thank you so much. Like, you guys are awesome. And I don't have a Ranger tab, and doing a lot with 5th RTB. They have just been nothing but amazing. Like, hey, thank you, sir. We appreciate you guys. Come jump with us. Come do this. Come do that. Yeah. And I mean, in Afghanistan, we got made fun of a lot. Look at this pussy with a camera. Ha ha ha. Blah. It's like, okay, well, I know who I'm not going to roll with. But then when they saw our work, they're like, hey, Sergeant, you mind if we get those photos? Nope. So I heard what you said about me. I heard what you said about me. But the guys that are like, hey, what do you need? Like, hey, do you guys know this guy's first name? You know his rank? Do you know what platoon he was in? He goes, I got it for you. And I'm like, here's everything. So it's great when people appreciate us. But then there's people that don't know how to use ComCam. I mean, I could tell you mission after mission. They took our vehicle because some lieutenant colonel wanted it. So now we're like thumbing it, trying to like get in a Humvee, and then we're stuck out there. Or oh nope, the seat of the Black Hawk's gone. You get it. So it's great when we have O-Power come with us when our lieutenants come. It's like, no, these are our guys. You're not taking their vehicles. And of course, as an E7, I'm not going to argue with a captain or a major or someone. So it is kind of hard, but or it's like, oh, you can't do that, or you can't jump GoPro. It's like, it's that really, when they put those restrictors on, it's really hard to do our job and give them the best product because you didn't let us go out there, or you can't go on the drop zone without an ACH. It's like, okay, but you're not going to get anything. They're going to be this big in the frame. So it's like, hey, I mean, this is your mission. But when they, like I said, 56 Troop Command, do whatever you need to get your shot. And we give them just amazing stuff.
That's that buy-in.
So it's nice when units understand how to use us and utilize us. Like, hey, how can we support you? And that's great. Because then, we're motivated, we're excited, we're getting all these great shots for them. Like, hey, we're really proud of this product we gave you guys.
Talk about your time with 173rd.
So when I came into Afghanistan, it's really weird. So the worst thing about our MOS is you're alone. We're supposed to go out in 2-man teams. One guy does video, one does photography. That was our SOP. But when the DSLR came out, we were shooting 5D Mark IIs. And when I was there 11 to 12. We have the Mark IV now, and now our new commander is saying, okay, we're going to upgrade your gear. We're looking at the R5, which would be great. So it's like, well, hey, your DSLR, your camera can do both. You guys can go out single soldier. So that's the worst thing of our MOS. You better make friends fast or you're going to be depressed real quick. So we had an OIC, a first lieutenant, NCOIC, sergeant first class, and 5 ComCam deployed to Afghanistan 11 to 12. And they said, all right, each of you are going to a FOB and you'll be there the entire deployment. And you'll rip in with the S7 shop. They're your boss. Send us your sit rep. And I was like, Berner, you're going to Shank. McTaggart, you're going to Fenty. Or like, they just went down the line. I never saw my battle buddies ever again.
So you went to Shank?
I went to Shank.
So if you go southwest corner of Shank, that's where they built Dalkey.
Okay, yes.
Dalkey, right? So that I was there in 18.
Wow, small world. Yeah. So you were there.
But they took all the equipment that was at Shank, and you can remember how populated it was.
Yes.
In the northern, and the Afghan National Army tried to claim all that stuff that, we'd left there once they left Shank. So a lot of what our logisticians were doing was they were teaching the Afghan National Army how to do logistics, but we were actually trying to fight for our equipment back that was sitting in those connexes.
Wow.
They've been sitting there all those years. But you guys had it a lot. It was a lot rougher.
Oh yeah,
well, it was pretty kinetic, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was. They called Shank Rocket City.
Yeah,
we took IDF every single day. I mean, Elsa, I got my cab, my first mission.
Isn't there a guy is that the time period where the guy got the Medal of Honor?
Yeah, so I was with the 170. This was their last deployment to Afghanistan. Yes. So when I ripped into Shank, it was first armor, and they weren't really hard chargers because they didn't get to bring their tanks. And so they're more light infantry. And I mean, the guys I went out with, awesome guys. I earned my cab with them. I mean, I really appreciated the support. They really, hey, ComCam, you're with us. Because I remember my first mission, like you said, the op order, we got our attachment detachments, we have combat camera, and they're like, combat who? Like, he'll be on the mission, document, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, hey, sir, where do you want me? They're like, just be on the LZ at 03. And I was like, oh, okay, who do I need to link up with? Like, we'll figure it out. Now I'm on the LZ, they're like, and then all the guys go up. I'm like, who do I roll with? They're like, dude, go screw off. Oh, ComCam. And I was like, and now the birds are coming in. Like the Chinooks coming in and land. Now I'm like, who do I go with? And they're like, I don't know you. And I'm like, I'm about to go into combat. And I have no clue what bird to get on. Don't know a soul. And Sergeant First Class Cart Corley said, Sergeant, I was the E5 thing. He goes, you're with me. And I followed him like a little duckling. And I got on the Chinook and I sat down and we sat next to the Afghan National Army, which you know how they smelled. That was a wonderful flight, smelling that. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to combat. I know this guy. And we go out, they do their 180, pulling security, throw my nods down. I'm just sitting next to him and he goes, all right, it's going to be the LT, RTO, me, and you'll be the back of our little wedge. And I said, cool. And I followed them for 3 days, a search and destroy mission. And the last day we found everything. We found a weapons cache. We took Taliban prisoners. And then they're like, all right. So we could see the cop in the distance.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, let's call the birds in. We'll air assault back. And then the platoon leader was a ranger. And he goes, we're rangers. Let's walk it back. And I'm like, why? Why? We've been out here for 3 days.
That area, it's in a bowl pretty much, right? But it's flat. So where you're taking all the rockets from is a town. Then you got the mountains.
You talking about Polyalam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you got the mountains on the other side. During the wintertime, the snow on it. But you're sitting in the bowl. And you can see for miles. So it's not like the other Afghanistan that everybody sees in the videos, right? Like Korangal and all that stuff.
Yes.
But it's just as dangerous because they can see you as much as you can see.
And it was super rocky there. Like, like the villages were all had lush and grass and trees. But other than that, it was just the moon. So, and it was Black Hawk Down when they're flying by and those little kids are waving and they had their cell phones. We saw 2 little teenagers up on the hill. And then our designated marksmen are looking through their scope and they're like, yeah, those little fuckers are calling us in. Sure enough, we're going through an apple orchard. Now, thank goodness they had all these little trenches built for irrigation, and it was just. They had 12 Taliban hit us from our 7 o'clock position, and those infantry guys, and that's why I love you, trigger pullers, just weapon off safe. It was like all in unison, just da 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 da, and they all got online. And then the 240s were doing talking guns, and then I was like, so I just ran. I probably fired 2 magazines back at the enemy, so it's like I fired back at the enemy. It's ComCam. But they're like,
hit somebody.
They're like 400 meters away. I mean, that's cowards.
Yeah,
they're shooting us with PKs and AK-47. So I was like, all right, I'm not gonna hit anything with this M4. So I put my weapon on safe and I brought out my camera, and it was the Mark II at the time. So I was getting my focus, and a round hit right between me and the Grenadier, and he goes, oh, that was close. I just kept firing. So I got that on. I was like, okay. And then now I'm in comcam mode. And so I mean, they're suppressing the enemy. And then I was like, oh, the 240, they're over there. So I ran across the field and I was like, that was fucking stupid. And then they all started shooting at me. So all just rounds were going past me. And then I died. And the Clark Coriel was there. He was actually directing the gun. And he goes, comcam, what are you doing? You're crazy. I was like, I got to get the shot of you, sir. He's like, you're nuts. And so I got the 240 rocking and rolling. And I was like, all right, okay. I can be brave, but not stupid. Like, that was dumb to run across the field when everyone else is like down. And here's this stupid guy running across. But yeah, I mean, I shot combat for real. And we had a JTAC guy with us. And he was cool. He's like, Berner, I called in F-16s. They're going to drop 500 pounders. So he lays the target. And I was just filming it. You heard him. I couldn't see him. And he's here. And the whole mount went up, and you hear, yeah, get some. And so, yeah, that was it. That was the firefight. And then
we need that video.
Yes. So, and they're like, you get that? I was like, I got it. And they're like, hell yeah. And then it's like, comcam leads the way. No, I was like, no, Rangers lead the way. And they're like, all right, get your gear. ACE report, ammo, casualties, equipment. And they're like, comcam, you break your camera? I was like, no. And then they're like, Berner, you got your cab. Berner, you got your cab. There it is.
Yeah. Good old Doug, Shank.
Yeah, but to answer your question, sorry, that was a full
talking about
173rd. First Armor, they weren't like go out like so Pullialam, the little town.
Yeah, in the distance.
Yeah. They were shooting mortars from schoolyards and churches, and so First Armor would be like, let's send Apaches over and do a
show of force.
Show of force. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and it's like, but they're still shooting at us. So I heard they were going to rip out. It's like, well, crap. Like I said, I'm alone. All my friends are leaving. And so I was like, well, what unit's replacing you guys? Some airborne unit, the 173rd. And I was like, oh, hell yes. I've heard nothing but good things. And they're the best unit I've ever served with in my Army career. I proudly wear this patch. They were amazing. The colonel was like, why are we taking so much IDF? Why are we taking so? And he goes, well, we can't hit them, sir, because they're around civilians. He's like, screw it, deploy snipers. And they're just popping heads off. So my last 3 months, we took less, but my last, I trained my replacement, 55th ComCam. We kind of did you guys deploy, we deploy. And so 55th ComCam came in, did a left seat, right seat training. And then I was just, hanging out till I left. And we had a VBED, a vehicle-borne IED, hit the wall. And I had 5 rows of tents, and then there was the bazaar, and then there was the wall. And it took the entire bazaar out, 2 rows of tents out. I thought a meteor hit the earth. I fell out of my rack, and they were, we're under attack. So I was in PT, so I threw my armor on. I was running out like an idiot. And they were like, Berner, we need you. So I documented the crater, and they killed 30 Afghan civilians that were in the bazaar. Them just gone. So and then the time before that at Salerno, they blew a hole in the wall, and they were dressed as ANA soldiers, and they got through, and they were killing people. But thank God they blew the hole right near the Ranger compound, and the Rangers came and just cleared house and killed them all. But they didn't want that to happen again, so thank God everyone rushed in. They plugged that hole, and they took security, so no other forces came. But I mean, that was nuts.
Shank was right off at MSR, and then Pullialam is across the street from that, and so it's high-speed avenue of approach either way, north-south.
Yeah. Major Chris Lawson was my S7, so he ripped in with 173rd, loved him to death. He actually promoted me to E5, no, he actually did like Mandatory Awards. Major Dahl was First Armor. He actually promoted me to E5, so I became an NCO in a combat zone, which was such an honor, and it was cool. During my ceremony, 2 Apaches and 4 Black Hawk squad on mission, they flew over, and they're like, couldn't time that any better for this ceremony.
I mean, everything you're mentioning is like, I could totally hear the music in the background. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, oh God, man, what the hell's the name of the movie I'm thinking of? Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
Totally.
Charlie Don't Surf.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally, I agree.
With you riding on the choppers and everything.
But these guys were such hard chargers. Absolutely. And they trained so hard. And then when we got, a couple years later, I was like, I would love to do deployment with them. We did a couple TDYs. So I did Italy, Slovenia, Croatia. And then actually, when I went over to Normandy, I asked the questions every mission. Do we have office space to work in? Do we have internet? Do we have a public affairs office to release our images? Blah, blah, blah. We get over there, nothing. Oh, you can use the Wi-Fi in the hotel. Okay, no, that doesn't work. And then we actually tried, and it's super slow. And then this receptionist kicks us out because we're not staying there. And I see the herd patch, and it was Captain French. And I said, hey, ma'am, I'm so sorry. Like, you're the public affairs officer. She goes, I got you, Berner. Come with me. You're one of us. Gave us office space, her password. I mean,
she's still there.
She's still there.
Yeah.
And I actually talking to her, and I said, hey, can we come on TDY with you guys next year for FY26? She goes, yeah, we don't have enough comp camp. Come on over. And so I love her MOS because, so I hope to do some more stuff 173rd.
They actually talked about us coming over there. We were chatting back and forth about maybe trying to get over there as well with the podcast.
Oh, do it. I mean, every time I see their in social media, I'm like, they're jumping where they're doing this joint thing. I mean, amazing.
Well, maybe we'll talk offline about connections.
That'd be awesome.
For certain. I mean, I'd love to go over there and do something. I have mad respect for 173rd.
Oh yeah, especially they went Vietnam and that heritage. I mean, I'm so proud to wear this patch.
It's a great patch to wear.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, so you were there? I was like, yeah, technically I was attached to them. I never got to serve in Italy, but. I'm so thankful I got to do their last deployment. And out of all places, they ripped it to shank. And Major Chris Lawson was amazing. Awesome officer. My officer, he was Lieutenant Sobel from Band of Brothers. I mean, made fun of you for calling your family. I was like, do you have a soul in there? Like, that's really messed up. I remember he keep calling me like, Berner, where's your sit rep? Where's your sit rep? He goes, is that your lieutenant? Don't call. He's my soldier. And that was it. He never called ever again. So I just fell under Major Chris Law. It was great. I was like, thank you, sir. He's like, I got you, Berner. So love him to death.
What were some of the other things I've got down here? Some TDYs like Guatemala, Panama, stuff like that. You got any?
Yes, that was an actual really cool mission. It was with Southcom. It was Beyond the Horizons. So every year they pick a Central American country, and I got to go to those. And they build a medical clinic and a school. So the combat engineers, they're usually bring like Guard and Reserve guys, engineers, and they'll build them. So, we're documenting them building this. And then the combat medics, doctors, and dentists provide the civilians down there. I think it'd do 1,000 people a day of free medical care.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Not one U.S. news crew was down there showing, and then just people are kissing your hands and thank you. And PSYOP is really cool. I really got to see PSYOP do their job for real because they're going out in the sticks, in the jungle, and we were going in these huts where it's dirt floor and very humbling. Speaking to them in Spanish. No, I promise you, no strings attached. Bring your family. We'll give you free medical care. They're looking at you all weird. Sure enough, they were lined up, and they're just so cool documenting combat medics doing their thing, the dentists, and it was such a rewarding mission. It was almost like a mission trip.
Yeah.
But the Army, they brought all these units together, and we documented it, and it was so cool. I got to do the Panama Canal, and we stayed on Fort Sherman where they used to do jungle school.
Oh,
and so that was cool. I mean, it's all, they ripped everything out of there. But they did air assault operation. That actually inspired me to go to air assault school.
Okay.
Seeing all that sling load, I was like, that's cool. And then when I got the air assault slot, I went there in 2018. But I've only had a couple bad commanders in my comp camp, and I've had no bad platoon leaders. I'm so blessed. Every platoon leader's like, Sergeant Berner, I have no clue what your MOS is because I'm a signal officer. How can I support you? I said, sir, we're going to get along just fine. But I mean, a great hard charge. We had I think 3 lieutenants in a row get airborne air assault within like 6 months. So it's cool. Like these signal officers are like hardcore, probably should have been trigger pullers, but didn't get that. But I've appreciated every platoon leader I've had in my unit. But we had a commander, he came from the Guard, and those missions were just annually. And it was a great, like, get your feet wet for these new comm cam out of school, because it's not like high speed op tempo, but you're documenting a great mission. And he goes, we don't need to do that anymore. I was like, sir, like, he was like, we go to Fort Bragg and go in the field for 2 weeks. So I was like, no, we don't do that, sir. Like, no disrespect. Like, we do like a week here, a 2 week here, a full month here. We all try to go internationally. We're not going to do that. All of our international missions got destroyed. So we had to rebuild all those international relationships, and we never got that mission back ever again.
Oh, that's screwed up.
Have you made contact with anybody in the SFAB?
So actually, yes, they actually used us. Oh, and Fort Lewis, we had a couple guys go out there, but not to the relationship where they're like using us nonstop.
You should, because they're here.
Oh, okay.
So you have first SFAB.
Oh, okay.
And they're regionally aligned with Southcom.
Okay.
And so you want to build that relationship.
Oh, 100%.
They're there.
And yeah, and I know they go everywhere. I mean, they're always.
I was getting ready to ask you about even 7th Special Forces Group down in Florida and everything.
SF really doesn't like us.
Oh.
So when I was in Indonesia, we went with the 25th. This was 2023. And the 25th, they were another awesome unit. Knew exactly how to use ComCam. So we went to Indonesia.
Not to cut you off, but that's kind of that rotation. 173rd, 25th, Ranger Regiment.
Yes.
There's kind of 82nd. There's kind of a circle there.
Airborne light infantry.
Exactly.
Well, now 10th Mountain as well. So there's like a circle of, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think it was first group out there. And actually, it's funny, Staff Sergeant Man was with us on the mission. And so he actually knew the team sergeants. We're like, good. And I go, okay, we'll get a guy in the bird. Obviously, we're not Halo qualified, but they're like, you're not getting in the bird. We'll just give you our GoPro footage. And I was like, okay, like, I'm not going to trust, like, you know, you hit record or, you know, you shook the whole time. And so, yeah, we didn't get in the bird. And they jumped. They didn't give us their footage, and we took pictures of them. Gave it. You know, we blurred their faces. Got them coming in landing. We gave them everything. They didn't give us a thing. And so it's like, I love SO. I mean, I love SF. Humble guys. Respect what they do. They hate ComCam. So I mean, I've done a couple like satellite jumps with them, or like we went over to 19th group, 20th group. Those guys were pretty cool because they're more guard. Their feet are back kind of more in civilian world. We've done some jumps with them, but still, like, they don't take us out on mission. So it's really Rangers and then line units that like using us.
Whoa. So you've got 3 years left then.
3 years left.
Are you going to do straight 20 or what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'll do straight 20.
Okay.
So my wife and I, we started our family late. So I got a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. So, you know, plus she's been supporting me for, 10 years, and like, I'm doing everything. She's holding the fort down.
Well, you mentioned your wife is a pilot.
She is. She's a CW2 in the Georgia Guard. And it's funny, all her officers are North Georgia grads, which is great. And Travis Holmes, he wasn't directly over her, but yeah, he was my fraternity brother who did the last flight. So like, it's so cool. I get to know, but she was a street to seater.
Wow.
And I was like, so you want to join? Okay. I support me. What do you want to do? Cause she's a civil engineer in her civilian career. So I was like, oh, you probably want to be a combat engineer and blow stuff up. She's like, no, I'll do something different. She's like, I want to fly. I was like, oh, good for you. How many hours do you have? None. Okay, what do you want to fly? Helicopters. Have you ever been in a helicopter? She's like, no. But with that engineering mindset, she just crushed the SIFTs test. Yep. And she had to go as a civilian in a panel of warrant officers and commissioned officers, and they grilled her. And she's Italian, so she fired right back, like, we like you. Then she did a one-on-one interview with their full-blown colonel, who is 6'6", and she's 5'1". And he was a hockey fan, so they talked, and she's like, you got the job. And so she did all her training back-to-back, top of her class, and she graduated during COVID. So they were like, here's a Facebook Live event. And I was like, no, you've worked so hard for your wings. I'm so proud of you. So actually, my grandfather's World War II uniform, my Afghan uniform, and now one of her flight suits are in the Henry County War Museum in McDonough.
No way.
And so cool. I called them. I know the curator, Command Sergeant Major retired Jim Joyce, love the man to death. He's done so much for our family. He goes, they're doing what? Hell no. He called the Army Aviation Heritage guys that fly the Hueys and Cobras. They flew a Huey and a Cobra, and then we did our own ceremony for her.
That's amazing.
Very cool.
And all the Vietnam guys were just crying because when they heard those Huey blades, because 6 of them that were at the ceremony all got medevac to Vietnam, and that's the reason.
Oh yeah, that's an unmistakable sound.
Yeah, so I was glad to do that for her because I was so proud of her and still am. And like, yeah, I mean, it's so funny because I'll run into their guys, or like I ran into them at the Delta Airlines veteran. They had the Black Hawk from her unit, and they're like, are you married to Chief Berner? I was like, yeah. I go, you know Little Berner? I was like, yeah.
Little Berner.
So yeah, I'm married to her. But they're like, oh, hey, this is Little Berner's husband. So,
well, you've just explained that your net worth is your network is your net worth. It's saying, but no, that's very, very cool. And so the fact that your wife's serving, you're serving, how many years has she got active now?
She came in 2018.
Okay, so she's still got a ways to go.
But I mean, what's her airframe? She's Black Hawk.
She's Black Hawk. Yeah, she got to fly the Lakota. Lakota was like coming in. They were phasing out the Bell. Yeah. It's like half her class to the Bell. I'm glad she did Lakota because it was glass cockpit. And then she flew Mike's, went to the 111th, did medevac for 4 years, and now she's in the 106 at Dobbins, and she's air assault now.
Yeah. So what's your normal routes and stuff you fly on Delta, just in case somebody listens to this and goes, hey, I know.
Oh yeah, I've flown with him before. So I did every cowtown in America, which was good. I appreciate our instructors. It was 7 weeks of training, and I said I'd rather go through Army basic training than Delta again because it's just fire hose information. If you fail, find another job. And as you know, if you fail in the military, we'll just reclass you.
Yeah,
we'll keep you. But that was really stressful. Like you could go through the whole 7 week. Bye, find another job. You failed.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's intense. I mean, because you have to learn every aircraft. Southwest, and it's funny. We have a Southwest flight attendant in our unit. So they're like, you just fly the 7-3. And then, of course, we had this whole fleet at Delta. But yeah, I flew every cow town in America, but our instructor said, fly your seniority. And that's the best advice. Because, of course, everyone wants to go to Paris and Rome and London, doing all that. Of course, those are great trips. But I checked off all 50 states. And I'm glad I got to see all those places. And yeah, you get paid to see friends and family. And so now with 10 years, I can hold West Coast. So I'll do like 2-day. I'll fly. I just got back from LA, did 24-hour layover, flew the red eye back. And then in the summer, I can hold, we call them TOs, transoceanic. So I can hold London, Amsterdam, Paris, and then you can kind of switch and stuff. Like people will message you like, hey, I'll give you my Venice for your Paris. It's like, it's yours. So it's literally like playing cards because they'll give you your trips and then you can look on, we call it open time. So it's trips that need to be staffed and you can, I'll actually go here and then you'll trade out trips, or if you're off, a senior flight attendant could drop, like an Incheon. I'm like, oh, taking that, and now I'm flying that. Or I can put my trips on the board, someone takes it, now I'm off. So, I mean, the senior and senior you get, you tell Delta what you want to fly, when, and you've made it. So it's like, I want to go to London Monday to Wednesday, and I'll have the rest of the weekend off. And then, the senior people, they're flying Johannesburg, Cape Town, Incheon. If they don't want to fly, they put it on the board. They're already semi-retired.
So I will give you Daniel for Germany. No.
Daniel probably wants that trip as well.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for you to text the very first time somebody spots you on an aircraft and goes, "You're Berner."
Yes.
I listened to your episode. I wanted to hear that
because there's not a lot of military and in-flight. So in-flight is the flight attendants. Yeah. So I mean, all the pilots are. I've talked to so many cool pilots. Like one pilot bombed Hell's Highway in Desert Storm. I talked to him.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, "How many kills do you have?" And he's like, "Probably a couple hundred." And then I flew with one guy. I always ask, "Hey, Captain, what are you?" I flew A-10s. I was like, "You saved my life twice in Afghanistan. Like, thank you." And he goes, "What years were you there?" 11 to 12. I was flying over you. I'm like, oh my gosh. Or one guy, he goes, "Have you seen the movie 12 Strong?" I go, "Oh yeah, it was good." That took me back to Afghanistan. He goes, "I flew B-52s. It's declassified now, but I flew that mission." I was like, no way. Okay, was it historic? He goes, "They got it down to the T, and I'm so proud that they did. It's exactly how it happened." I was like, thank God. Because when it's like, oh no, it didn't happen that way at all. But all the civilians who watch movies like, that's how Vietnam was, or that's how World War II, or that's how Afghanistan was. It's like, no,
they're getting real now.
Yeah.
Now I got to tell you a story then, because I used to fly up to Dulles all the time. And I had a neighbor across the street that was a former A-10 pilot. I knew that and everything. And every time I would say something to him about it, he knew I ran a podcast, but he played everything pretty low key. At any rate, I was always looking for him on the aircraft to see if he was going to be my pilot. We're flying in the Dulles on this one special trip, and the aircraft is coming into the runway, and no shit, there we are, and we're sideways like this, and I can tell because I can see based on what normal buildings I notice are over there instead of, they're over there, and they should be in the middle of the thing. And I'm realizing that we're kind of coming in and we're hitting major turbulence, which they told us that we were going to do. It was a major wind shear that was coming across. And I swear, I think the wheels were off the ground about 15 feet, and he finally straightened it out. And I'm saying prayers like hell, like, holy hell, I can't believe we're actually going to land this thing. And all I'm thinking is, I hope these are former military pilots.
Yes.
The bird lands, we get to the gate, I'm coming out with my luggage, and I look up, and there's my neighbor. And I go,
no
son of
way.
Yeah, I go, dude, I knew somebody was flying this thing. And so I said, come out here. I got into the jetway and everything, and we started talking, and I go, oh my God, I was hoping and praying so badly that a military pilot was flying this thing the way we were coming in. And I go, we were flying totally sideways. He goes, they were calling us at the tower saying, you want to reroute, you want to pull off and everything. And we're like, no, we're landing this thing.
Wow.
And he goes, but it's not just me. He goes, the guy up in the front seat with me is a former Air Force pilot too. And I go, oh my God, man, I felt so safe because I just felt like a calmness, like you guys got your shit together. You know what you're doing as you're coming in. That's why.
That's all. Yeah. And 80% of the pilot force at Delta are all former military. And that's why I love working for a pro-military company. And it's cool because I wear my 173rd pen because I don't try to wear too much bling.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you've probably seen some flight attendants like, are you a billboard? Like, what are you promoting? So yeah, I just have my 173rd on my vest. And it's so cool because, yeah, I'll have a woman nursing a baby like, how many jumps do you have, Airborne? Like, 63. Like, I'm a colonel. And I was like, never would have guessed that. But I'm glad because it gets people talking or, veterans. Or I had a Navy SEAL where come back from Colombia and we were talking to the gal. He goes, man, great story, man. Like I was a SEAL and like now I do contract. He goes, thank you for what you do. And I was like, well, thank you for what you do. And he coined me. Or I had a Marine. He goes, I'll mail you a coin. I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah. And he mailed me a coin. I have it in my coin. So meet so many cool people. And I remember another guy came on one of our flights and he was sitting in Comfort Plus and I was like, I know this guy. I look up his name. It was Jeff Strucker from Black Hawk Down.
I'll be damned.
And he was so humble, and so before I knew, I was asking him, like, sir, I served in the Army. He was very humble. And I was like, okay, you don't have to say anything, but did you serve in Black Hawk Down? He's like, yes, I did. And so really cool guy. And I guess he commissioned. He's down at Benning, became a pastor. But yeah, it's like you never know who you're going to have on your flights. I literally just worked London and I was standing at the boarding door and they're like, oh, we're waiting on 2 more. We got VIPs, the other flights. And like, yeah, it's Russell Brand. And there he comes down the jetway. And I was just like, oh, there he is.
Riding coach in the back?
No, he was in Delta One, of course.
Okay.
And they held the flight for him. So everyone's like, we got connections in Atlanta. And of course he strolls up. And again, like he's a Christian, like more conservative, like I'm really proud like how he turned his life around. I know he's getting hell right now, but it's like, hey, Mr. Brandt, may I take your bag? He goes, that'd be lovely, thank you. I put it up and he had like an assistant with him. But he had like this like Jaguar jacket with no shirt on. He still had the celebrity persona, but really, because he's like, mate, thank you for that. You didn't have to, but you did. Like, I appreciate you. And I was like, thank you, Mr. Brand. And then the flight, then I got to serve him. Like, he was such a wonderful guy. We're joking around. Like, so it's cool when you meet celebrities on our flights and they're nice and they're kind and, are very pro-military. Like, thank you for what you do. Of course, you got the jerks too, but
sure,
it is cool. Like, whoa, I had no clue I was going to meet this person today. So.
Austin, man, I appreciate you coming in, enlightening people about ComCam, because when you reached out to me, you said, hey, I don't know if you ever want to have one of us on the show and everything. I was like, hell yeah, because we know what you guys did behind the scenes and everything, and you don't get probably the credit you deserve. So your story's fantastic. You came in here with a lot of credibility, and I really appreciate you just coming in.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I mean, if there's any soldiers listening, I really hope if there is an interest, to be honest, we're dying.
Yeah.
I have 17 soldiers in my platoon. Like, it's a long MOS. So I know a lot of guys, like our best soldiers in our unit are trigger pullers, like ex-infantry, and I appreciate those guys. But if anyone's interested, like, we need good ComCam. We need guys that like love the MOS, hardcore trigger pullers that want to do something creative. But yeah, I just hope I can inspire, especially before I retire, inspire other guys to come do this MOS. Because yeah, I've served with some amazing guys. And I know I'll pass the torch and it'll continue on. We got some great staff sergeants and sergeants, but we're just dying. We need more guys.
Part of the selling point, and I was going to let you finish with that, but part of the selling point now is you've got the graphic art and design aspect of it too, and you've got a whole demographic, whole generation.
Yes, and yeah, you do get college credit and you do get a certification. Yeah. So if you do go in the civilian world, it does translate. And
that's amazing,
and they actually let you pull, actually shoot. Because when I was doing freelance, I was just the camera guy. Like, I didn't get to shoot in the Army. I shot my whole career.
Cross-trained, everything.
Exactly. So no, I've been very blessed. So.
Who is it that you wanted to give a shout out to?
Well, he named about 4 of them.
Yeah.
Was there
I just wanted to name, I mean, of course, my fraternity brothers and Sergeant Bryant. And I mean, I love those guys. And I just appreciate, talking to those people. Hey, I'm going to make this happen. Like Major Nelson would probably be one of them. He's 52 Troop Command. Worked with him. I mean, I can't thank him enough. And I mean, shoot, all my commanders, all my lieutenants. I mean, as you know, we're all a team. What does it take? 12 people to put one infantryman in combat. You got to get paid. You got to get your supply. So I'm glad we're all that, hey, we're all joint and I want to do my job so you guys can do yours and vice versa. And like, I hope I have that impact because actually and Clark Corley, I'll never forget him. Sorry, I'm choking up. He actually was killed in action. And I took the last photos of him alive. And I'm so thankful I was able to serve with him. He took care of me and he's gone, but he had a son and a daughter in his last deployment. And I'm so thankful that I was like, I took pictures of your husband and your dad. So now you can see him as a hero. So yeah, it's funny. I run on my PTs and all my neighbors make fun of me, but you know what? I'm representing the Army and I say a prayer every time for those 12 guys I lost in Afghanistan. So.